Apparently we're on our like 51st day of quarantine or something.
Pretty unbelievable, right?
Yeah. It feels somehow like it's been much longer and also at the same time like not that long. It's weird.
I feel that. I feel that. Anyone else? Does it feel like a short amount of time or a long amount of time?
It feels like it's gone by really quickly for me, but I also don't remember what it's like for me to get up every weekday for school. Like I can't even imagine doing that right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to school.
No, me neither.
Was anyone that's on here, I think most people that registered were in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So is everyone kind of doing distance learning until the foreseeable future, or at least out until the end of the school year?
Yeah.
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 Is anyone, just to make sure, anyone not doing distance learning and have to go back to school sometime soon? Okay.
I know in California they're doing the thing where they send like half the grades one day and then the other grades the other days. So they like switch days of school. So they don't have as many people inside the school building at once.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're all just trying to learn, see how doing like a soft reopening goes and what that's going to mean for the future, and plan to the best of our ability. So speaking of planning, thank you guys for joining the leadership planning office hours. We're gonna go over just a few tips and ideas and hopefully answer any questions you might have and provide resources that will be helpful to you as you either fill leadership positions open or just plan for the following school year. So we did put in the chat box if you can sign in, so you make sure that you can get the link. We're also recording this meeting, so for any reason you need to hide yourself, that's fine. Or if you need to send this out to anyone afterwards, you'll have the link. We do ask that you mute yourself when you're not speaking. And then if you have any issues with sound, you can use the link listed here, or you can actually message Catherine Royston and she can help you troubleshoot any issues you might have. And then at any time throughout this presentation, because it's really meant to be a more informal office hour session, to use the chat box, unmute yourself to write questions or comments. So this is just some really cute Our Minds Matter students. Alrighty, so before we get started, we are going to introduce ourselves because I think a lot of people know each other here, but just in case anyone doesn't know anyone, we're going to introduce ourselves with our name, our pronouns that we use. We always like to state our pronouns in case we don't have the ability to know what someone's pronouns are. Also your school name, and then maybe why you attended this leadership planning office hour session. So I'll get us started. I'm Laura Beth. I use she, her pronouns, and I go to the School of Our Minds Matter, and I am here because I want to make sure you guys have everything you need to feel good walking into next school year. So let's popcorn around. Anyone just want to go next?
I'll go next. My name is Deanna. I go by she and her. I go to Yorktown High School in Arlington, Virginia. And today I'm here because I really want to make sure that the Our Minds Matter Club continues its legacy at our school. And I know that right now it's a really hard time it's going to be extra challenging for that to happen. So just wanted to learn some more stuff about how to, sustain the club.
Thanks, Deanna.
Yeah, Coco.
Okay, I can go. My name is Jada. I go by she, her. I'm from Edison High School, and I'm here today. I want to learn more how you can increase engagement virtually, especially that, we're not at school right now. And what can we do for next year to jumpstart a stronger year?
Great, thank you.
I can
I'll
go.
go next.
Oh, no, you can go.
Okay. I'm Anastasia. I go to South Lakes High School. I use she, her, hers pronouns. And the reason I'm here today is because, one, I love Our Minds Matter and everything that it does for the students. And also, one of our co-presidents this year is a senior, so she's graduating, and we need another person to step up to be one of the other co-presidents or just another person in office. And so I just want to learn more about how we can get people involved and inspired to join.
Great, thank you.
Hi guys. My name is Jimmy. He, him, his, and I go to Annandale High School. And I am here today because I'm actually still in the process of starting a club at my school, and I just wanted to get more insight to make sure that we have a smooth start to everything, because we were planning to start during this school year, but because of COVID and stuff, we don't really know what's going to happen in the fall either. So I just want to get more insight on what we can do to get the most participation.
Great, thank you.
I guess I can go next. My name is Jada, and I go by she, her, hers, and I attend Woodson High School, and I'm here because I really want to get a better leadership committee in place, I guess, for our club, because we don't really have any people in officer positions, I guess, if you want to call it that. So I'm hoping for the fall we'll be able to have that.
Thanks.
I can go next. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Taylor.
Okay. My name's Taylor. I go by she, her, hers. I go to Oakton High School, and I'm here because we have a really big leadership board, but we're all upperclassmen, so I'm hoping we can get more underclassmen on it so the legacy of the club can continue.
Thanks, Taylor.
I can go next.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Orion. I go by she, her. I am at Robinson, and I joined today because my lovely partners in crime at Robinson are unfortunately graduating, even though I wish I could keep them forever. And that just leaves me. And so I would like to figure out how to encourage some of our club members to step up and take on some leadership roles.
Awesome.
So my name's Catherine, and I go by she, her. I go to the School of Our Minds Matter, and I am here because I'm the new program coordinator at the Josh Anderson Foundation, and I want to learn more about how I can support you all in your clubs.
Great.
Hi, my name is Yvonne. I go by she, her, and I go to TJ. And I joined today because I'm looking to find out more ways that we can keep our club engaged, encourage engagement in our club, even during quarantine.
Great, thank you. I think we have a couple more.
I'll go. I'm Jean. I'm a school psychologist at Quince Orchard High School in Montgomery County in Maryland, and I'm one of the co-sponsors of our first year of our Minds Matters Club. And so I go by she, her, and I am here because the majority of our leaders are graduating, and so we're trying to continue on the club and make it as strong as it can be. And so I'm here to learn a little bit more from you all about how we can do that.
Thanks, Jane. And Christine or Huda? Alrighty. Well, if at any point, I don't know if you're trying to introduce yourself, but we can have you introduce yourself later if now's not a good time, or If you don't want to introduce yourself, that's fine as well. So I know that several of you laid out some good questions on the registration form, and I appreciate you doing that. So the format for today is really gonna start to like dive into those questions that you laid out. Obviously, we heard a couple things about like how to increase engagement virtually, what to do to get the most participation, need new leadership. So it sounds like we really have variety of people here looking for different things. So I hope that we can touch on and help each one of you figure out something that you can take away from this session. So I'm trying to think, Catherine, where do you think might be the best place to start? I have Catherine writing down some notes for me to kind of group some questions together.
I think we could start at how to reestablish leadership for next year, or to strengthen leadership, especially if we have upperclassmen who are graduating.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that maybe starting with kind of the general process of what this might look like, and depending on if your leaders are seniors, whether you just need more leaders, kind of this process might be helpful to think about. So the first step for you is to identify and define like available roles. So if it's all seniors, right? It's like, all right, what are the roles that we have or that we need to be filled by next year? And then the second step to figuring out, okay, how are we going to do this, is by promoting those available positions that you define through several different mediums with instructions how to apply. And then obviously like reviewing applicants and holding a leadership election and transition to new leadership teams. So we can get into more of that. So I know that in the handbook, we identify several different roles that you might potentially consider having. And all of this listed is not saying like these are the roles that you have. I know at TJ, for example, their roles are like director of a bond. What are your titles that you guys do? Director of outreach?
Yeah, those were, I guess they had more of a meaning last year, but now we're kind of just all co-directors.
Co-director.
But we have like director of finance, director of policy, of communications. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've seen that it is kind of different at each school. So for like Jada right now, I know you're kind of the only person for the most part doing everything, right? So it's...
Yeah, sorry if I can jump in actually. So I feel like for our school, so we were trying to do something more of like having a committee. So you would have like a committee leader, and then I tried to put like together a committee, but it just kind of like fell apart. So I think that like this coming year, I'm trying to go back to like officer roles, but like I guess the biggest problem is knowing like what if no one wants to run.
Yeah. So as far as promoting different positions and like thinking about different people that you can tap into, let me skip to this slide. So one, like if you've been using your sign-in tracker, you do have a club roster that you can help kind of promote different positions out once you have those defined and laid out. And then there's design software like Canva for marketing that you can easily use. Or say, for example, you don't think anyone in your club right now is at a place to take on a leadership role. I think that's when we think about asking our club sponsors for help and having them reach out to their colleagues and other staff that maybe are in a health class or in a psychology class or something where the potential student already has some type of interest in psychology and mental health, or like thinking about potentially other clubs as well that could have some overlap with that. Maybe it's collaborating with them to see if any of their leaders or members would be interested in a leadership role. I don't know if that's helpful in thinking about different ways to tap into different people at your school. And then obviously like posting on social media and then asking club members to reshare, maybe if they're not interested, right? Because if you're not getting a lot of response back from your roster or your current membership base, you don't want to force people, right, to sign up for a leadership position if they're not available, don't have the capacity, or just too busy. We just have to think outside of the box how to get the marketing materials and leadership roles out there. Have you, Jada, out of curiosity, have you tried talking or connecting with your sponsors about getting a larger pool of potential candidates?
Yeah, we have. We've actually talked about maybe going into like the psych classes or something. We were actually planning to do that, but then we were in quarantine, so it kind of didn't work. But I think that's a really good idea. So I think we're going to try that.
Yeah. And so I don't know if anyone, I want to just open the floor, make sure that if anyone has tried a strategy like this before and had some, you know, good things to share, or maybe some cons to share about trying these different strategies or barriers. Obviously, quarantine is one of them. And I think what I would say to that, I feel like schools are almost in a better place to start helping students, because at first they were just trying to get all their ducks in a row with getting all their curriculum up on Google Classroom or Blackboard or whatever they were using. So I feel like now hopefully we'll be able to get more engagement from club sponsors or teachers if your sponsor is a teacher, now that everything's a little bit more settled.
I have something to share regarding reaching out to people and trying to market. It's been a struggle for our school because we're still starting out, we're still pretty small. But one idea I've had is identify groups within the school that are related, because then you can kind of target your effort to people who already might be interested. And again, now that things have settled down, I think people are more people have time to think about, oh, what am I going to be doing next year? So I was thinking about reaching out to there's a Sources of Strength group at my school, and that's related to mental health as well. And there's other clubs like that. So I was thinking I would try and ask those people and let them know that, you know, we need more participants in leadership positions for next year.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I also
Something
have an
else.
idea.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Something else for getting like new members and stuff. Our school actually works closely with the counseling department because our sponsor is a counselor. So we've been contacting them, and they actually have a website right now specifically for quarantine to give students activities to help during this time, things like that. And they've been talking straight with us to get those types of activities. So that's just an example of what we've been doing right now, but just reaching out to them even before the quarantine started was a really great idea, because they actually started talking to their students about it. If kids were coming in talking about like maybe they were having problems with stress in school or something, they'd be like, this is a great club for you to attend. Here's like one of the members' contact information, and you can reach out to them. So that's just an idea for maybe like finding people interested in leadership roles as well.
Taylor, that's a great idea. So it could be worth, like, if the counseling department is reaching out on your behalf, but also having your school or asking your school to maybe post something on the school website. I don't know how much a student goes to the website. So maybe it's, if your school has an Instagram or Twitter, like say like this club focused on mental health is looking for leaders for next year, you can join or learn more at this virtual session held by them. I know that's kind of based on each school. So like, I can't tell you that you need to hold a club meeting virtually to like advertise your available leadership positions. I think that's something you have to confirm with your club sponsor to make sure that they're okay with you holding that on, because you are recognized as a formal club through your school district. So thank you for sharing, Taylor. I think that's a great idea.
Another thing that my school has is a career center. I don't know if other high schools have that, but basically the career center, the person who runs the whole center, she sends out weekly emails with different opportunities for students, like scholarships or like virtual college visits and like other stuff for students. And so if you have one of those, I would suggest also emailing the person who runs that center. And if they do send out weekly emails, ask them to include that your club is looking for leadership positions. Because I know for us, I mean, we can use social media to advertise and all of that, but we can't post anything like ourselves onto the website. So we have to go through a faculty member or something. So yeah, I think your best bet would be to reach out to teachers and other staff.
That's a great strategy as well.
And I also know that sometimes for some schools, like it might be hard to like advertise on the school Instagram or school's Twitter, but maybe if each graduating class has a social media page, it might be easier and more flexible to share there. And even if you're specifically targeting underclassmen, you can ask like the 9th and 10th grade class pages.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up too, because I feel like that came up a lot, that clubs want to engage more underclassmen. So it could be reaching out to class of, what would it be, 2024?
I think
Doing math on a Monday or ever is not my expertise.
And also, I think if your school has a leadership class, I noticed that those students tend to be a little bit more, not motivated, but they have more like enthusiasm, and their mission is to like, bring the school together. So I think they might, if your school has that, definitely tap into them as well.
That's a great strategy as well. Hyra, thank you. Alrighty. Any other remaining thoughts on different ideas that we could use to, or different mediums to promote different positions? Catherine, would you mind recapping kind of all the different things?
Yeah. So different ways to, one could use the club roster and to see who's on that. Jada suggested, well, she tried doing a leadership committee, which I think sounds awesome. And then there's certain tools like the Canva for marketing, reaching out to either the club sponsor or counselors who might be in touch with other students who would be interested in taking on leadership roles, or who could connect via different resources. So maybe if there's a career center that sends out weekly emails, could get put on there. Maybe a school listserv that goes out to all the students or their families. Maybe reaching out to groups in the school, such as maybe psychology classes or other organizations of the school, like Sources of Strength, that have a similar focus. Also with reaching out to leaders at the school who are students. So like student government officers or a leadership class or leadership by grade level, so that they can promote the club and what's going on right now.
Thank you. So this next slide is just a picture that probably most of you guys have seen around what we designed on Canva for advertising, just being a part of Our Minds Matter. Has anyone tried using Canva or another design software? Deanna? Yeah, I'm seeing some head nods. Aban? Yeah. Okay.
I've also used Adobe Spark.
Adobe Spark?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another one we can jot down. It's just really helpful with Canva, I'm not familiar with Adobe Spark, but with Canva, there's like different templates that can make it really easy to use your school's custom colors and design things. And then I added this screenshot from Robinson Minds Matter, where they were, promoting their available positions and their application on their story. And Orion, how is that going? I would love to just
okay, it's going fine. Robinson is so we're still getting off the ground because this year was our first year, so we are still pretty small, but we've had 2 people interested. One is a rising senior and one is a rising junior, so that's helpful. I'm gonna probably get in contact with those 2 people and see if they will be willing to help with work and plan for next year. And then next year, as we get more members, I was thinking maybe around September, October, we would have kind of a more formal election after we've kind of decided some positions and looked at where our needs lie.
Yeah, I think that's
something else I thought about is, how like the incoming freshmen, there's normally like 2 sponsors for that class. And then I don't know how they're going to do like the freshman orientation. Normally we do that over the summer, but I guess I don't know what's going to happen right now with COVID. So maybe if like figuring out who are the freshman sponsors, and I'm assuming they might do like a virtual orientation. And I guess maybe they can bring up that, we're looking for leadership opportunities and this is what our Minds Matter is and all that. So that's something else I thought about.
Can I actually pop in quickly and express something that is kind of okay? So I know that so we like to be open. We like to, say everyone can, be a leader and stuff. And I think that's great. But I guess one thing that is kind of hard in my school, and it might be in yours as well, I don't know, but I feel like there's people who will be like, oh, I'm willing to be a leader, so my college resume looks good. And it's like, don't you want people to be leaders who actually truly have a passion for what you're doing? So it's kind of harder to choose, I guess, how that could work. I don't know if you've run into that problem.
I think that's a great and very fair point to bring up, Jada. And one thing that we are promoting as a tip is to allow candidates to present why they're the most qualified. So just because maybe Orion, that you got 2 applicants, obviously if you know them personally, they've been a member, they've been active, that they're going to be a good fit because how good of a club member they are. But say you're promoting these roles and you don't actually know this person because they weren't involved in the club last year, having some type of meeting to discuss, the club goals and plans for the following school year, why they are interested. Also for you to be able to communicate what the expectations are and answer any questions that they have to just get a clear picture on, is this person committed to this mission? Do they have the time? And then I wanted to pull up, here's an example from Madison Minds Matter officer application. They added these questions of, what do you think mental health dialogue is important? Or why do you want to be a part of Madison Minds Matter? So some of these buffer questions can kind of help weed some people out that aren't super serious about this commitment and maybe just want another position to put on their resume.
I think also another thing is, for example, at my school, I don't think anyone else attended the quarterly leadership meetings except for Diana and I. And I think that maybe part of the application process should also be, would you be willing to go to these following events throughout the year and stuff? And if they say no, then probably don't select them as an officer, just because I think that we learned so much during those events, and that if they're not dedicated to the club 100%, they don't want to attend those events, and they're probably not the right person for the leadership role.
I think that's a really great point to bring up. And while it's not required that you attend all of these sessions, or that all of your leadership team come to the session, it's really important that at least one person is able to attend, if at all possible. So thank you for bringing that up, Anastasia. Jada, do you think having some type of like interview process would be helpful in kind of weeding out who is serious and who is not?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I actually really like whoever came up with Madison Minds Matter. I like the Google form that you created. I think that I might actually take that on and try and do something like that. I'm just kind of worried about like, what if no one applies, I guess.
Well, that, you know, I totally hear that. The good news for you is that you are a rising junior.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, say worst case scenario, no one applies right now. For you specifically, we can focus gears on really building your team in the fall. And I don't think you need to, you know, beat yourself down if no one applies. It's just recognizing that now is a difficult time. It's more challenging than ever to really promote and, you know, show someone the ropes for being a leader. And so I think that give yourself a break, and we will make sure that we can figure out a way to support you and get more people aware at Woodson about what's going on with Woodson Minds Matter.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Jada, I know this is easier said than done, but kind of quality over quantity. Sometimes, so for us, we only have about, I think 5 leaders. So we have a president, vice president, upperclassman secretary, underclassman secretary, and a historian. So I think just like, you know, don't let it get into you, and just know that there are, and sometimes I feel like sometimes the club members, they're the ones who, you know, help more sometimes than the officers. So I feel like it's more of like just a, you know, a whole group effort, community effort. So, you know, it'll come with time.
Thank you.
Deanna, how are you feeling? Because I know both of you are seniors and you have a small club and are feeling generally like, do I have the club base to select someone that's already a part of the club, or do I need to go outside of our membership base and really identify, like you were saying, with sources of strengths?
Right. So we're definitely it's a big concern for us to find people for next year because we do have a small club. But what I've been thinking about is really prioritizing finding people who may not have heard about the club who would be really interested in it, rather than like some other clubs right now may be prioritizing like the quality of meetings and everything. Right now we're more like really just trying to get people who would be interested, and yeah, so that's our biggest priority right now. It's definitely kind of stressful, but I know that we haven't yet fully used all of our resources when it comes to reaching out to the student body. So I think that once we expand more, it'll look a lot more up for us.
Great.
Yeah, so the next question was actually about elections. So how do they actually work?
Yeah. So I think depending on your club size, right, whether or not you actually have an election. So your election could just be your current leaders and your sponsors holding a virtual meeting or phone call to discuss like any applicants that you might have to vote on the leadership team. But say you have a large club and you want the whole club to have kind of a say in who gets elected, you could host a virtual meeting to all of your club members. All of them aren't going to attend, we know that, but the people who are really invested will. And then you can have the candidates, you know, kind of give their pitch onto why they think they're a good fit for the role and why they want to be a leader with the Our Minds Matter Club. And then you can have an anonymous voting poll through Google Form and have the election, you know, determined by that voting form. And so I know does anyone or has anyone on this call actually held a formal election? I think we have a lot of newer clubs on just from my quick glance, but
we've had we didn't have to elect our presidents because we were like the 3 founders of the club, but the others, like the historian and the vice presidents, I'm pretty sure that those are the other 2 that we have, they were elected. So they all submitted applications, like a Google form that we made online. They submitted their answers, and then we selected them for the positions that they put on their application. But I think that there's only like 1 person per category or per position. So basically they'd already gotten the position before they even applied, since there was only 1 of them. But yeah, that's how we did it. So through a Google form.
And did you guys meet as a team or a leadership team to discuss the people that applied? I know you said that, you know, for the people that applied, it was only 1 per available position, but did you guys meet and talk about it and confirm, okay, we're, you know, 1, we need this position filled, 2, this person is qualified and will do a great job? What was that discussion and experience like for maybe some of the students on here that haven't done that yet?
So we have an officers group chat for the 3 presidents, and we all saw the responses to the Google form, and then we all kind of discussed their applications. And then also there was one, I forgot about this, but I just remembered that in the beginning of the school year, I was also one of my friends who was part of OMM, she wanted to be the vice president, and I was going to like make her the vice president just because she was interested. But then we all talked as a group, and I realized that was really unfair. And I felt that even though, I mean, yeah, she's a great friend and she's interested in mental health and everything, she is probably not the person for the job, you know? So we probably should hold formal elections if you want people in leadership roles to actually get things done, because in the end she ended up not even applying for the VP position, because she found out she would have to like compete for it. So I think that doing a formal election is probably the best way to go when it comes to officer roles.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's like, even if you know you only have a couple people interested, still having them submit a formal application along with responding to questions like, why do you think mental health dialogue is important, is, I think, an important first step for them to demonstrate their commitment to the club. So one other thing I wanted to bring up when we think about like transition for seniors, like if your club is all seniors right now, is holding a meeting to review important club details. So if, say for example, you have a social media and it has like account information, or you've built a list of dedicated teachers and staff that help you with your school-wide campaigns, you could consider putting together a club handbook that includes that information and like best practice. Obviously, we have the Our Minds Matter handbook, but you guys all kind of customize your approach and do things a little bit differently. Like I know at South Lakes, a lot of times they start with mindfulness grounding exercise along with the rose thorn bud and introducing themselves. But if there are practices like that that you think are unique and important to your club, to make sure that those ideas are written down if you hope that that tradition will continue. And then if possible, even co-leading a meeting with a new leadership team. I think that's going to be really challenging, but it could be hosting a mock meeting where you have your candidate or your final candidate to lead a virtual meeting with you and your leadership team, especially like Jean, I know like Chris and Estelle, they are the club meeting facilitators, and you're looking for someone else that will be able to confidently lead a club meeting. So it could be holding a virtual session with them and say, hey, here's a 5-minute sample activity we want you to prepare, to see, one, can they put together a simple PowerPoint? Two, do they feel open and comfortable in talking virtually or in person? So that's just one idea for transition. I don't know. I know actually I pulled this picture in here. One idea that I like and that I've seen certain schools do is introducing their team and like a little bit about who they are, or like holding some type of social with their leaders as a good way to, like, especially if you're bringing new people on, like say you already have 3 co-presidents, but you're bringing in 3 more positions, like really creating a space to get to know each other and like talk about, you know, shared leadership and how we lean on each other to get the work done. And if, you know, you for some reason can't lead a club meeting one week because you have a lot of exams or you're stressed out or you have your own family problems you might have to attend to, that you can like call on those other people or other officers to help. Has anyone else tried anything with as far as like leadership transition, or maybe had like Jada, I know for Woodson, was there anything given to you as far as like prep work, or did the leaders just say, hey, like this is our club, lead it?
So
we can always
like,
yeah, go ahead.
So I joined last year, so when I was in 9th grade at the end of the year, and basically everyone in the club was a senior, so they all left, and they didn't have elections or anything, so I kind of just like went to the OMM trainings, and then I kind of had to just rebuild the club because like we weren't really left with anything, to be honest. So what was your question? Sorry, I forgot.
I think my point more so was that if you think about your experience either taking over the club when you became a leader, and maybe what you wish you would have had, is a helpful way to think about leadership transition. So if in your ideal scenario, what are the things you would have had as you came on as a student leader? And I think that's more so for us to think about, what could we do now as officers, as sponsors, to best prepare any new leaders coming in and helping us with the club next year?
Yeah, I guess it could be helpful. Like, I know you said that we have like the OMM binders, and those really help actually, especially when you're trying to like get off from the start to like plan meetings or whatever. But I think that if like each school specifically made like a little handbook, like it could be a few pages even, but just to like get people like knowing like, one, the point of the club, two, like what you want to complete, just like more specifics of like, okay, what do you want to do this year? What do you want to accomplish? So you know, like you got what you needed to get done or whatever. And then also just like, I guess what you want each club meeting to be. It could be different than like school-wide events and stuff. So I think that could be helpful.
Yeah, I think laying out what your club's mission is. So, and your goals, because while our minds matter, we have certain things we want you guys to accomplish. At the end of the day, you guys are really setting the tone of how you're gonna change and improve school culture at your individual schools. So one very clear example is we have TJ Minds Matter on here, and something that their club decided that it would be best for them to spend their energy on monthly school-wide campaigns and just have a small leadership team to help organize and plan those monthly events. And so that's a very clear goal that a new leader should know and that should be outlined. But for some other clubs, like if you've been meeting every week, but then maybe this past year you had the observation, hey, like every week, I don't think it's actually super sustainable. Our club goal is to actually meet every other week or once a month. And we never want to go more than 30 days without holding a club meeting, if at all possible. Obviously, right now, that's totally different. But I think outlining some of your individual club goals and the direction that you want to have for next year, and having some maybe internal conversations with your current team are, all right, so what did we learn from this past year, and what do we think we can improve on next year, and already have those things thought about.
I think that's a great idea. I have another suggestion, especially for anybody who may be a senior and is moving on, and the new leaders, if you're going to be leaving the school, to encourage communication with the new leaders even after you've graduated, because I found that the previous two leaders from last year were also seniors who both graduated, and they didn't leave that much for us to build off of. So the transition was a little rough. However, the two girls were really friendly, and I felt really comfortable like texting them or reaching out to them at any time if I had a question. And I think just encouraging that, even though I may be no longer an active member, like an active student or an active member of the Our Minds Matter Club, I'm still here to help. And and also, you're not a new leader, you're not on your own. So I think that's another important thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I know, like, hopefully for any of you that have seniors leaving you, hopefully you could set up that, expectation or hope prior to them potentially leaving the area. And that, hey, like, if I have any questions or concerns come up, would you mind hopping on a phone call with me to discuss? So I think that's something we hope that happens naturally, but I think it's a good point to bring up to think about how we could be better facilitators of that.
Thing I was thinking about was, since I'm a rising senior and most of our club leaders are rising seniors, we were thinking of electing underclassmen to shadow us. So like an underclassman president, underclassman vice president, and then an underclassman historian to just shadow us and learn, so that once we graduate, they kind of have like a foundation to build off of.
I think that's really important to bring up, and something we've thought about is January a better time in general for us to start thinking about and electing our leaders for the following school year? Because typically seniors, they want to enjoy and really embrace their last couple months of high school. So how can we make sure that maybe they don't have any extra strength or extra stress on them and can really enjoy their senior year, but also they're around to support the rising leaders and they're not totally, checked out. So I think that's a really great point to bring up, Hyra, is having students shadow one another from an earlier point than what we typically see as schools starting to think, like March, April, okay, who are our leaders going to be? Really start to think about it, in January or even earlier. So this slide, it's just a sample action plan. And again, I'm gonna send these slides to you following the meeting, but it could be worth having a officer meeting with your team and really outlining what your club priority is and how you're gonna get there, as far as ensuring a smooth leadership transition, having things written down, the steps, when you're gonna start it, when you're gonna finish it, and who's responsible can be really guiding, whether it's using Google Calendars, just making sure it happens rather than being like, okay, I know I need to create a flyer to send to our, school sponsor to send out to their colleagues. But if you don't have a scheduled time to do it, then maybe it just doesn't get done. It keeps getting on the back burner. So if at all possible, creating some type of action plan can be really helpful. I know we have 5 minutes left, but I just want to see what else we could do or create for you guys to make this as easy as possible for you all. Like, would us creating a sample application form or election form be something that you guys would find useful? And then I'm seeing some head nods. Okay. And so then from there, all you have to do is make a copy of it and then put your own edits to it. Okay. So I'm seeing some head nods. So I'm seeing enough head nods to say that, all right, following this, we can create a sample election form and application form for you all. Is there anything else?
Any other questions in general?
I know one of the questions on the registration form was how to just generally engage virtually. And we've been working on an entire, like a 10-page virtual engagement guide similar to the handbook, but obviously much shorter and much more specific. So Catherine's actually pulled and adapted a bunch of activities that could be done virtually, along with some other ideas that you can do if you decide you want to have a club meeting. So you can just pull directly from that. So she's going to have an office hours next Monday, same time, to discuss all of the new virtual engagement strategies that she's come up with and brainstorm more ideas and have you guys share what you guys may or may not have been doing over the past couple weeks.
Also, if you all have any ideas of activities you'd like to see virtually, feel free to email me. And I am creating 3 new activities this week. So if there's any others that would be interesting to you, just feel free to shoot me an email.
No more questions, no more. No, I feel like I don't have enough work to help you guys.
I think the biggest thing that I gained from this, I learned a lot from, all the action plans and stuff, but seeing everyone else here and just being in the meeting has just given me the motivation to keep this club going. So I think that's the biggest thing, just continuing reaching out with us and hosting these meetings. That's the most helpful thing for me, because like when we're all together, it reminds me like, oh, this is such a great thing to continue and spread. So yeah.
Thanks, Deanna. Thanks for
I agree with Deanna, and I think that if you make a template like for the Google form for application submissions, I think that would be very helpful. So yeah.
Great. Will do. So I might wait and I'll create that after this meeting and then maybe get this email with the slides out to you guys either later tonight or tomorrow, along with those templates. And would you guys like me, I got a thumbs up. Would you guys like me to copy you guys so you can see everyone else? And so if you have any resources or templates that you want to share with other clubs, Would that be helpful? Or would you guys be willing to share with one another? Okay, cool. I'll do that then. Awesome. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for joining, and it was really lovely seeing all of you, and we hope you'll join us next week for the Engage Virtually office hours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye guys. See you later.